Hello and welcome to the Larp News Podcast. This week brought to you by hay fever and sleep deprivation. My name's Millie.
Yay.
Oh mate, honestly.
My name's Bungle.
Eeyore. And together we make the Larp Noobs. So for a bit of hindsight and clarity, dear listener, we are doing this as I am working nights. And it is 8 o'clock in the morning and I got in about 4 hours ago. So we're doing well. I've got some tea.
Ooh, lovely.
Honestly, best thing in the world right now. I've got some tea. I've had an antihistamine because, my God. Have you noticed that the hay fever's got really bad since we got back off the field?
With the weather heating up, it's definitely increased. I'm pretty claggy throated at the moment as well.
Yeah.
I haven't taken antihistamine because I'm normally only affected by tree pollen and oilseed rape.
What?
So they're the two things that knacker me out completely with hay fever.
I didn't realise that you were so knowledgeable about your own hay fever, Bung.
Oh yeah, it's because I know I get triggered mostly in sort of the springtime.
Is it spring though, Bung?
Well, it was.
It's
apparently.
spring.
I mean, to be honest, the weather was very suiting for spring.
It was quite nice, actually. Like, okay, typical weather for E2 was it tipped it down on the Friday night, Saturday morning,
Yep.
right?
Yes, and then we had sporadic heavy showers throughout the day on Saturday, I want to say.
Yeah. But then Sunday was really nice.
Yeah, Sunday was really nice. No rain. Was able to pack everything down nicely.
Yeah.
So
Not gonna
that was
lie,
always good.
it was such a busy weekend for me. The weather hasn't even played a factor. I was quite, like, other than the mud underfoot, it was a very pleasant E2.
Yeah, that was the only thing. Was like there were areas which were pretty marshy. Felt very like we were in Thurunin.
Oh yeah.
So especially the main path through Navarre. I took that
mate.
I think twice, that path.
Yeah.
Otherwise I always took the lower path down towards the hub.
Yeah, I just completely avoided the central part of Navarre entirely. But yeah, it was a good event, I think, overall. A lot happened.
It was a good event.
A lot happened.
A lot did happen, especially with Aagni.
Yeah, we'll get on to that. Very emotional event. I haven't quite processed everything yet.
Not yet. I need to be sending out a load of icy letters to people, but it's sort of like, how the hell am I going to do this?
Well, if only you knew a scribe.
I know.
Yeah.
If only.
Should we get down to it then? Should we start on our Friday?
Let's start off. Oh, I arrived on the Thursday, as is tradition. So I arrived on site probably about 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon.
Nice.
And unloaded all my car up. And then was like, right, I better move my car. But then I'd been blocked in.
Oh.
So, I mean, to be honest, it was Oily and Daisy who had blocked me in, so I wasn't mad about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity and do what I never do, which was put my tent up without taking my car back because I couldn't take my car back.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I'm very glad I did, because just as I'd finished getting the tent all up, I felt the first drops of rain, so I was able to chuck all my stuff inside the tent.
Yeah.
And then, brilliant, now I can move my car.
Nice.
I mean, like normally I do, as they say, which is bring your stuff, unload, move your car.
Yeah.
But by the time I'd unloaded my stuff, more cars had pulled into sort of the market spot.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't able to get out. So I was like, you know what? Rather than just standing around wasting time, I'll get this done and sorted.
Yeah.
And yeah, worked out for the benefit of not getting all my kit soaking wet.
Nice. And how was Thursday?
It was pretty chilled, actually. I ended up, as with most of my weekend did, I was sitting with the dread shields.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't ask for a better load of neighbours.
Yeah, they are
dread
so
shields
good.
one side, Embercast the other. We're just beautifully located.
Dusk owls in between.
Oh yeah, dusk owls were just in front of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very nice. Just relaxing Thursday evening. Went to bed quite early because everything got really wet.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really tipping it down towards the end of the day. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to climb to bed.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
It was probably one of the warmest nights to sleep while I was there.
Yeah.
I think the Friday night was ice cold inside the tent.
Was it?
I found it so anyway.
Oh.
I woke up really cold.
Oh dear.
I think it's because the skies had cleared.
Yeah.
And all the heat just dissipated. So first thing in the morning was pretty chilly. That's Thursday. I'll move on to the Friday. Where again, Dave had turned up on the Thursday night but was feeling quite ill, so ended up going back home and then coming back down on the Friday during the day.
Oh, bless him.
So Again, woke up in the morning and just spent the morning hanging out with the Dread Shields, wandering around saying hello to some people.
Oh yeah, because I just realised Ian was away doing various different Taylor. He was at Taylor Swift, guys.
He was up in Liverpool on Thursday night. Then Friday he drove home, sorted stuff out, loaded his car up with his LARP kit.
Yeah.
And then came back.
Yeah.
And arrived, I think, because he arrived a few hours after you arrived on the Friday. Because you arrived, what was it, about 7:30, 8?
Yeah, I think I arrived at about that. Did anything happen? Did anything happen before I arrived?
Before time in, I was sort of chilling out. Oily was getting dressed up for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there was some serious OC reasons that the original photographer he'd arranged with was no longer able to do the shoot with him.
Yeah.
I had happened to brought my camera because I'm no longer a proxy. I can actually do some photography at this event.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I'll tell you what, I've got my camera. Do you want to go down and we'll just have a bit of a laugh, do a bit of a photo shoot? And I'll tell you what, that was a lot of fun, and it's the only photos I took all weekend because I didn't want to take my camera out in the rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm working on getting the raw files edited and uploaded. I've already sent, I think, to the Ashbourne group and to Oily himself the original JAR and JPEG files even.
Yeah.
So he's got them to have a look through. But yeah, I want to do some tweaks and some edits and stuff. But yeah, that was fun. I've
seen the photos. They are so good. I mean, your skills as a photographer are great, but also Murdoch as a character.
Oh my God. Seriously, he is the best person to take photos of. Even for a picture, you can see how much charisma that guy uses.
Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
Hell yeah. And
then in time in, did anything happen?
Not a huge amount. I went along to standing, which, with it being spring, meant it just absolutely dragged on.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that really is a bugbear of mine, where it's just, I know everyone wants to get their point across, but brevity is key, especially at that time.
Yeah.
Because we also had, in Thorns Council, a general up for election.
Which army was it for?
It was for Azalea's Dance. I'm trying to remember the guy's IC name. I'm so bad with names. I know he's of the Waystone Path. Is it Cadwell or something along those lines? I do apologise. My names and brain don't work.
So going back to the whole brevity thing, like when it comes to the spring summit, it is the biggie for Navarre, isn't it? It's like spring is our season.
Yes. So yeah, everyone's just constantly shouting, "It's spring!"
Yeah.
And everything like that is going on throughout the entire camp, pretty much for the entire weekend. But yeah, again, before you arrived on the Friday, was mostly sort of just after all the general, like electing the new general at Thorns Council. It was basically a little just free time, and I did what Keys does best as a drunkle, and had a couple of drinks.
Nice.
So yeah, and then my wonderful wife finally arrives at Anvil.
Oh mate, if we are going to have dramatic entrances at Anvil, we're going to have Millie as Millie OC arriving at, what was it, 6? I reckon it was about 7:30 when I parked up.
Yeah, about 7:38 when you got up.
And this is nothing against PD at all, because I think that they had a lot less crew normally than they normally do this event. Yeah. But whoever was in charge of cars and parking up cars this event, it was interesting is the word that I'm going to use, because I tried to unload my kit from my car, and I was blocked. You couldn't get down the OC entrance to Navarre because somebody had parked in the way.
Actually on the ambulance route.
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I had to find the closest parking space, which at Friday, when everybody's already there, was impossible. All of my kit unloaded from the car, and then go and find an actual parking space, which was a nightmare. And so I did all that, got it unloaded, and I got to the gate of Navarre, and I think it was Brokers Council?
No, that was Fawn's Council.
Was
They've
that
moved the
Thorns
location.
Council?
Yeah.
Oh,
They put an
no.
awning at the front of Black Scar. So
Yeah.
that was Fawn's Council that was still going on. Obviously, the election had been done.
Yeah.
But it was all
just...
the Fawns planning out for the
God.
various things.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was debating with myself. I was like, Millie, you can't change. Like, I had nowhere to change. I could have gone to the shower block and changed, to be honest, but that I was so tired from work, it just wasn't even crossing my mind. Yeah. So I was like, you grab your stuff and you sneak around this 60-strong group of Navari. You stick your hand in the air and you just do it. And by God, I did.
Yep, and then I think we did what? I think it was you, me, and Dave did the rest of the kit in one run.
Yeah, you guys were really kind, and you came out and you helped me carry all of my stuff to the tent. And then I ducked in. I became Aagni, and then everything was right with the world. But it was I loved it so much because down that one stretch of road, which is what, like 50 meters, I ran into Murdoch, into half of the Embercast, so Fionn and Kellen.
Yeah.
I ran into the Entwined Paths camp, and basically just all of my Empire friends were on that one stretch of road, and all I could hear was, "Oh, that wind looks a bit funny to me." And I was just like, Mother Hubbard, no thank you. But yeah, so we got in, I got agnified, it came out, and then I'll be honest, Bung, it all went.
Is it one of those sort of scene missings?
No, I can. So it's all come back to me now, but I was very excited to be back in Anvil. I'd been hyping myself up from the drive all the way over. It took me 2.5 hours to get there, which isn't that long, but it's enough time to drum up a very serious hype train. And I may or may not have downed a drink very quickly. And then I may or may not have been offered some very nice whiskey.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But so I'd mixed right out of the gate. And it was all downhill from there.
Oh, you say that because it was soon after you had arrived when Bron and a load of the Hurst Hall lot turned up at our camp to talk to Gellert. And, I mean, OC-wise, you know the player behind Bron. So, so this is all fair. This is like having a bit of a laugh.
So
because obviously theft rules have changed.
Oh, wait. Right, okay. So let's not spoil it before we even get out of the gate. But we had Bron and Hurst Hall, you say, from Wintermark.
Yes.
They arrived at the camp and they were just talking all of this stuff and, you know, being interested in Gellert. Gellert was having a chat with them about various different things and various different financial escapades and all this stuff. Because if one thing we know about that certain Wintermarker, money is no object.
No.
Nothing is an object for that person. And with such reckless abandon for material wealth, their pouch was just wide open. and for context, the pouch in question around their belt was one of those, you know, coin purse pouches where it's kind of like expandable and it then is kind of just open. It's not one of the traditional like leather pouches where it's got, you know, a lid.
Sort of a flap and belt.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying that you can pickpocket at Empire because you can't. There are some very strict new rules about stealing and theft in game and things.
Yeah.
But I know the character very well, OC, and I just saw this pen basically hanging out of his pouch, and it's one of those things where I was like, if I don't do this now, firstly, it's not very Aagni, but also that pen could fall out.
Yeah. Because
they were completely unaware about it.
Yeah, and my favourite bit is you turn to me and go, distract him. I'm like, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to watch.
Yeah, you did nothing but sabotage me this whole weekend. Unbelievable.
No. I didn't sabotage you.
It's just you. But anyway, so I walk around the back of him, and bear in mind that Bron has got 6 or so of his haul with him.
Yeah.
And
A fair heft.
Yeah, right. A huge amount. And then I literally just reached in, and then in the most obvious way possible, or at least in the way that I thought was the most obvious way possible, I just picked up his pen.
Yep. Well, my favourite bit had to be the guy standing next to Bron. You turned to him and go, "Don't look."
Yeah. don't watch.
Yep.
And then so I got this pen and I just started walking off. But I made it very obvious, like I wasn't actually stealing it.
Yeah.
Like, because 1, I'm not a massive arsehole, but 2, it's more fun if you get, it creates more game when it becomes obvious that something's gone on. So I just start walking off. And then they notice that the pen's gone because obviously I've dangled it in front of their faces. And suddenly I am surrounded by some very, very intimidating winter markers.
Yeah.
Swords drawn, all going, "You give that back right now." And I'll be honest, that's pretty much the tone for the whole weekend.
Yep.
And so gave the pen back, obviously, which very valuable pen in terms of empire things.
Yeah.
So I could have kept it and made a nice little life for myself. Funded Talus's little riverside thing pretty much off my back, but no, we gave it back. And the winter markers sort of left shortly after that. And I just remember us having a little chat of, "Aagni, you need to control yourself."
Yeah.
But it's
did you?
No, why would I? It's but to be fair, about 20 minutes later, one of the winter markers came back, and then they were like, "Do you think you could use those skills to do something for us?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Excuse you? What is this coming my way other than game itself?" So yeah, they were like, it's again OC. It was within their own hall. They had a discussion about it already, but they had a lot of interplot going on in their own family, and they wanted something done about it. And they were like, "Oh well, we've just been pickpocketed. This is an excellent, use of our thing." It was all very above board. Everybody knew what was going on. We did loads of check-ins, and we were like, "Yes, I will absolutely be hired as your pickpocket."
Yeah.
I got a little stipend, and an agreement that as long as it was done by the end of the weekend, it was absolutely fine. And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And that was very good fun.
But that's another night.
That is another night. But after that, we had some stuff to do with Gellert, didn't we? We did all of the delivery routes.
Oh yeah, you had some things people to go see, stuff to drop off and whatnot.
Yeah. So we went down through Dawn, past the Winter Markers bar, run at the bottom of the Navarre Wintermark border, where we had our unionising, formerly Wintermarker, now Marcher, who was very concerned about the farmers' union within the marches, and then dropped off some stuff at House de Lac, ran into our now, he's not really a good friend yet, but Xandros, who looks really similar to Damarian.
Very much so. A bit more dishevelled and less noble. But...
Yeah. But yeah. And then we get back to Navarre. I was feeling pretty happy with myself. Everything was starting to kick in.
Yep.
Alcohol-wise.
Yep.
And we ran into Otis and Cricket.
Yeah.
Who I was sure was called Owen for most of the weekend.
Well, he also thought you were Agnes and not Aagni.
Yeah.
So
it's great. Like I think Alex. Oh my God, it's going again. I think Otis and Aagni are just gonna call each other different names every single summit. That's going to be our inter-podcast beef. Just can't get anyone's names right. But yeah, and Cricket, played by the wonderful Daisy, they said, we need to get you food.
Yes. That's when we took you to the Navarre Pie and Mash shop.
Right. I didn't even realise there was a Navarre Pie and Mash shop.
Neither did I.
But yeah, so we got a pie and mash, which was delicious.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a wrestle for a crown coin that had fallen on the ground. Which we won't talk about. It's not my proudest moment, but I will say that I did win.
Yep.
I did.
But you did return the crown to its rightful owner.
Yeah, I did. I mean, absolutely. You always return the money. Yeah.
I know.
But it was,
it's all fun and games.
Chaos was definitely my middle name on the Friday.
Oh, definitely.
And then we went to go see the Reapers, didn't we?
We did, and they were because they've bought a bar in the Marches.
Hell yeah. A very good bar in the Marches.
Yeah. Really good rhubarb cider.
Oh my God, the best rhubarb cider. It's so good. Actually, no, it's awful rhubarb cider. Nobody should go and buy that from them at all.
If you're going to buy it and give it to us to drink for you.
Yes. I mean, don't give it to me to drink for me. I think my drinking days at Empire are over. Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so we started at the Reapers, and there was, in the Reapers bar, there was Benno.
Yep.
There was Els. There was the Prince. Kostya. And a couple of other people. So basically, quite a lot of the heavy hitters within the Crimson Reapers were there.
Yeah.
And seeing as I was getting quite jolly at this point, my chaos remained untamed.
Oh yes.
And I started antagonizing the Prince of the Crimson Reapers. I do not advise this, dear listeners, for reasons that we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
But
all good Navari know the term actions have consequences.
Nah, they don't. That's false news. But yeah, so I ended up getting a few more drinks than I wanted. I did actually want them all, but they did go and vanish very quickly. And then I remember ending up at the Blind Eye pub.
No, there was no Blind Eye this event.
Was there? No,
the Blind Eye, because they were on a separate section. They're going to be back at E3.
Yeah.
We went to, I think it's the Black Rat.
Oh, Black Rat. Okay, so went to the Black Rat, ran into so the Crimson Reapers were with us. I remember sitting down at a table, and my military unit had gone to, I can't remember what it was, but I remember on my pack it said that I had a free use of cleave. Yes.
You did the ruins of Turanriel.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was the reason why I got the free use of cleave. Yeah. I'm not sure. But either way, I had a free use of cleave. And Aagni used it incredibly wisely to cleave the Prince of the Crimson Reaper's hand.
Yep.
So that she could steal his tankard and run away.
Yeah.
Which, again, would not advise, dear listener. Very bad idea. And the next thing I remember is Kostya in full clank, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because they wear skull masks. And it's dark at this point. So imagine the terror as I'm sat down and the whole bench just, because they're the cheap camping benches.
Yeah.
And the whole bench just goes thunk. And I turn around and Billy, who I love very dearly, is just sat very close to me. And I'm just there like, oh no. Because he's got his massive, what are they called? Cleavers?
He's got a Zweihander as well, hasn't he? But I don't think he had that out.
Yeah, so it's a massive two-handed sword, basically, in full clank. And I'm just there like, firstly, impressive how you managed to get that on so quickly. Yep. But also, oh no.
Yep.
So I run away again. and that is pretty much where my night ends on the Friday. That is where the scene.
You vanished for quite some time. I think you just sort of went somewhere just to sort of get back into your own head a bit.
So basically what happened was I ran away, and I just went and I chilled OC for a little bit, because obviously I was quite drunk at this point, and I was getting too rowdy, and I had a word with myself, and I was like, we'll just take it back, we'll go chill, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, because I think after you did that, the run off and went to go chill OC, I'd gone back to our camp and was just, again, using my night, just chilling out with the dread shields, relaxing there.
Yeah.
And you turn up back at the camp and actually put you to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. I was pretty miserable at that point, wasn't I? It was like 1:30, the rain had started in earnest.
And I think you'd come back in the rain, so you're just like, whoa. So let's get you inside the tent, let's get you dried off and put you to bed, you poor little thing.
Yeah, this little damp, very miserable Aagni turns up at the thing. But yeah, do not recommend, dear listener. Do not overindulge on the Friday night. Although, to be fair, better to overindulge on the Friday than on the Saturday.
Yeah.
I think
that's why what I like about the Thursdays. I can danger indulge then and have no sort of requirements to do anything on the Friday.
Oh yeah.
But obviously, if you can't make it for a Thursday, then.
Yeah, I think it's for a multitude of reasons it was not wise, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that on the later on
the Saturday. Did you do anything while I was vanished?
No, not really. I sort of just chilled out and chatted with like I say, the Dread Shields, and just a nice relaxing sort of time.
Yeah, they are such wonderful people, aren't they? I mean, you've got. They didn't have Rocky or their cooking set up this event, so it was just quieter at the Dread Shields than it normally is, and it's quite nice to just be able to go and chill there, and things like that. And plus, their tarpaulin is massive, so if it's raining and stuff, it's quite nice.
Definitely,
because you can just chill under it and it's absolutely fine. But yeah, that finishes the Friday.
That's Friday.
That is the Friday. And come Saturday, it's time to wake up, shake up, and monster.
Yeah, well, for you to monster.
And we were monstering as the Jotun.
Yeah.
Or the Jotun. Which isn't my favourite people to monster as, because it's a lot of honor and lots of rules and regulations, and it's fun to monster because it means that you can just run around with reckless abandon and throw your life away many times. But we turned up to monster. There wasn't that much of a turnout for monster, I don't think.
I think the weather put a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't raining at that point when we mustered, but it was looking pretty miserable, and because it had rained basically all night, it was very muddy underfoot. It wasn't as bad as E1 because there wasn't any groundwater. It had all absorbed away. But it was just mud.
Yeah, I think also the reason it probably seemed like there was a lot less people was the weightings were swung pretty heavily this event towards definitely winning the Saturday and possibly not so much chance of doing it on the Sunday. Yeah,
because battling on the Saturday, icy, was Imperial Orcs, Marchers, Dawn, and then the League.
Wintermark.
And Wintermark?
Yeah. Were the League?
I think the League were. Because the Reapers were contracted to Varushka, so they were monstering with us.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. But either way.
Yeah. But a lot of the big clank, heavy hitting stuff was on the Saturday. It was
very clank. Which, again, as I said in our E1 episodes, very scary.
Yeah.
Because in the back of your mind, all of this clank and all of this heavy armour is going to be monstering against you the next day. Yep. But yeah, so I think the whole point of our monstering quest was we had to find some mythical weapons and then return it to a big sort of wizardy magey, can't remember the name of it, but there was a big person that we had to return these weapons to.
Yep.
So the unit that I was with, we were tasked with treasure hunting, which was so much fun. because there's nothing more exciting than when you turn up to Monster, expect to have a little bit of a stab and fall over and die, and then go, actually, here's a riddle.
Solve this riddle and find this thing.
Right? It was so fun. And I just remember running through the fields and just going like, oh my God, I need to find this. And we basically had 3 clues to find 3 weapons. The first one was that it was in a gorse bush, which if you have been into the woods at Empire,
every bush.
It's literally every single bush. The other clue was to find it in the roots of a fallen tree. Again,
vague.
Doesn't narrow it down very much.
Nope.
And then the third one was at the roots of an orange tree or something like that. It was about orange wood.
Yeah.
Which was a weird one because, but that one was the one that we kind of knew the easiest because there's one tree in that wooded area that had kind of, the way that the wood had reacted to the rain made it bright orange, so that was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very fun. It didn't last. Well, the battle when it actually got underway didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Me and my unit were based in the woods. I never actually went into the large field, but I do know that there was fighting that happened there. I just think that it was over very quickly.
Yeah.
Because I blinked after the gate had opened, and then suddenly all of the Imperials were at that little bottleneck and fighting towards us.
The wonderful single, where you can barely get 2 people side by side across for a gate.
Is it called Midgate?
I think so, yeah.
I think that might be it. So that was very exciting. The one thing I really don't like about monstering is it's when you get backed into a corner and there's nowhere to go, and because you just end up having these Imperials coming closer and closer and closer, and you're all getting bunched up like sardines. And OC, it does kind of get a little bit scary. I'm not saying don't go Monster because it is still very good fun, but it got to a point where we were actually being backed onto a road. We were by the fort.
Oh yeah.
And we were getting backed up a road that went to the OC camping area.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where the refs had to step in and be like, no, you can't go this far anymore. All of these orcs are dead.
Yeah.
Off you go. And so there were about 30 of us, and it was mainly the low comms.
Yeah.
And we kind of just went back through the OC area, went way around to respawn.
Yeah.
But I got to respawn, and the ref was like, I'll be honest, the battle's basically over. You're not going to respawn.
Yeah.
So at that point, myself and Aaron, I think his name is OC, just walked back. I didn't have my phone with me at this point.
Oh no.
So I couldn't get my post-battle milkshake.
Oh, sad times.
Which is that that is the greatest injustice to the Empire. Is the fact that Millie could not have her banana and coffee milkshake. Because my lord, did I need the caffeine after the night before. Did anything happen while we were monstering, or were you just chilling out at the camp?
I was just chilling out around camp, really. I think I had a little wander, but didn't really get up to much.
Yeah.
It's been a really quiet event for me. It was just I wanted to sort of properly relax. I know we said like E1 was our relaxed one, because obviously that's when Gellert stood down, but that was on the Saturday he stood down, so Friday was still a bit doing that, and then sort of slowly winding down for the Saturday. This event has basically been, this is my weekend off, just to relax, enjoy Anvil before I start going on to figure out what Keys is up to next time.
Yeah, because your E3 is going to be pretty massive, isn't it? Because you're going to try and get back to the field.
Yes, going to try and get back to the field. Probably more as a physic than a fighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to be going on. Also, there's obviously various things that we'll discuss later on that will be going on as well at E3.
Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, so we get back from monstering, and the word consequences is a word that you'll never find me using, dear listener.
Yeah, you'll find me using it a lot.
Yeah. Because we get back to the camp. We're chilling out. I was the only one of the Ashbourne that went to go monster because I was the only one taking the field this event.
Yep.
So I had Ian was still asleep because he'd got in at like silly o'clock
it was like
in the morning.
1 in the morning. I think he got in. It was ridiculous time he actually arrived.
Yeah. And then so you were there. Dave had just woken up, and the Crimson Reapers turn up. Yeah. And it's the Prince. It's his right-hand man whose IC name and OC name, I'll be honest, very sorry, I can never remember. But they all have incredible hats in the Crimson Reapers.
Yes, they do.
So I was a little bit distracted by the hats until I hear, "You've got yourself a reckoning, Aagni."
Yeah.
Which is terrifying words to hear from a Liga, because a reckoning is basically what they use as their kind of like legal proceedings, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I guess so. Sort of, we're going to be doing something against you. This is your heads up that something's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a couple of OC chats about how we wanted to handle it. It was very good. Yeah. Very good check-ins. Very happy, very responsible. And basically, it was very scary. It was basically the Crimson Reaper chatting to Gellert, being like, your scribe and your striding mate have insulted me.
Yeah, I was talking to the Prince trying to see if what monetary recompense would be this take.
Yeah, it was very exciting. And I was just there trying to act like an actual scaredy cat and not be absolutely giddy.
Yeah.
Giggling and away. Excited. Honestly, so that happened. The Reapers, they kind of did this whole thing. Basically, my whole game when it comes to the Reapers is Aagni is their chaotic gremlin, the thorn in their side, and the stealer of their weapons.
Definitely.
But for virtue defense,
they're not very vigilant.
They're really not. You know, the amount of times that they just leave their weapons on the floor.
Yeah, or loosely in holsters, which aren't clipped shut.
No, they're starting to get better.
They're learning from that one at least.
They really are. Andy's character now has frogs that have all of the secure fastenings in, and things like that. But, you know, it's fine. It's all good. It's all very exciting. So I was just being my cheeky scamp around them, and they all leave. And then the whole reason of RE2 was that Gellert and Aagni were going to join the militia.
Yeah.
And we had kind of geared ourselves up for a little bit of a difficult process. Like, we thought that it was going to be like a interview situation, a sort of a test run. We'd been told loads of different things about the militia, and how difficult it was to join.
Yeah.
So Dave and I went down kind of ready to for anything. We went to the militia tent, which is right next door to the hub. We said we'd like to join the militia.
Yeah.
There was a very dramatic pause, to which they went, okay. And we got sworn in. Which...
anticlimactic.
Well, not even, it was like anticlimax, sure, but it actually worked so well.
Well, yeah, so you build something like, oh God, it's going to be this. Hello, just sign this. Thanks.
Yeah, it was legitimately that. And it was perfect Gellert Aagni game. Because we just looked at each other and we went, God, we're so good. They have just let us join the militia.
Yeah.
It was I didn't realise just how many people there were within the militia. But it's huge. There are so many members. And so you're supposed to get a sash, which is a white sash with the symbol of the militia on it. Unfortunately, there was, I think, a storage mishap, or some of the players had taken their sashes home or something. But either way, there weren't sashes for Aagni and Gellert, which made us very sad.
But also meant undercover.
Yes, the best goddamn undercover cops you've ever seen. But yeah, we got given a little notebook, very good quality notebook, I'll be honest, and a pen. And we were literally said, they literally just went, and there you go. So Gellert and I were just kind of looking at each other going like, what do we do now? And there was a detective that turned up, and they said, does anybody have a minute to go and find someone and bring them in for questioning? And of course, we volunteered straight away. As crack detectives. We were great. So we were getting this brief. The detective was like, right, this is the name of the character in question. Of course, redacted for podcasting purposes to protect the identity. This is the name of the person. This is where the nation they belong to. This is what they look like. And I'll be honest, it started to look remarkably like somebody that was waiting in the queue to go into the militia offices. and we were getting this description, and Dave and I were looking at each other, and we were just kind of like, that's our person right there. The person gets to the front of the militia queue, and they go, "Hi, I've been told to come here for questioning. I'm here to hand myself in." And the detective goes, "Oh, this is the person right here." And so within 5 minutes of joining the militia, Gellert and I had already had our first arrest.
Yeah, well done.
Which, it was so funny because the player realised what was happening. We realised what was happening, and Gellert and I high-fived. And then the person that had handed themselves in, then also went in for a high five. It was so funny. It was like one of those little moments where you broke character, realised the funniness of the situation, and then just instantly went right back to very serious chats. And I didn't realise how quick the legal system was.
Oh my God, it's turbocharged at Anvil.
Really is. Because basically what happened is...
Wait.
Sorry. Oh, no, carry on.
It's because no one wants to spend their weekend of the game in a prison cell.
Yeah,
so it's just literally like, you're in, you're questioned.
Yeah. And
comeuppance.
Then, that person had the trial. They basically, what had happened was, I think they'd used a magical item that they weren't allowed to use, but they used it to save their friend.
Yeah.
So it was a very strong virtue defense. And the magistrate was overseeing the trial, and they didn't give the person a fine at the end of the day because they were like, your virtue defense is very strong. I could give you the customary 1 ring fine, but on this occasion I find you virtuous enough, you may go.
Nice.
Which was it was really interesting to watch, actually, because it pulled back the curtain a little bit of all of this things. It was part of Anvil that I'd never actually listened to, heard of, witnessed very much.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. So yeah, Dave and I kind of got a very strong motivation from that 5-minute encounter to go and properly get our teeth sunk into the crime game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stopping crime, not being crime.
Oh no, exactly. It's stopping crime all the way. What do you mean? Aagni wouldn't commit a crime ever. I don't know what
Not
you're talking about. But yeah, so we then, the detective that had given us that case had to run away and carry on doing their job. And a different, I think they were a constable. So I think it goes deputy, constable, detective, and things like that.
Yeah.
They turned up and they were a character from the Brass Coast. Their kit, phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they had basically an investigation to do. They needed to go and question a character within the marches.
Ooh.
So we then, and that certain character was also getting inquisitioned. So there was a lot of things up in the air. Basically, the detective had a letter that needed to go to the person inquisiting this character.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they wouldn't have the evidence to make the inquisition stick.
Yeah.
And so we had to find not only the character being questioned, but also the person trying to inquisit them. So there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it involved Gellert, Aagni, and this detective walking up and down the marches quite a lot to find this person. Didn't manage to find them. But I'll tell you who we did manage to find. All of the iLARP crew.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is always a lovely thing to happen, because they're all wonderful people. Their camping setup is enough to make anybody jealous. It is incredible. That's
what I'd expect from the iLARP lives at that site.
Yeah. It's so good, isn't it? And I know that at E1, Johnny had a soup kitchen going for icy food for people, just to keep the chill off. It wasn't there at E2 because I think he wanted to concentrate on other things and not have to cook all the time, which is very fair. So Dave and I went to go and get milkshakes. Delicious. But I'll be honest, as we were walking down through the marches, couldn't help but realise that there was a couple of reapers.
Dum.
And I'm sure they're quite a large sort of cartel within the league, so I'm definitely sure that they weren't watching me. But my God, after the things of the morning, I was starting to get really paranoid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were walking, we got our milkshakes, went back to the camp, where there were even more reapers. Bung.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you up to anything while all this was going on?
I'm trying to think what I was even up to. Like I say, it was very much just a very casual weekend for Keys. Yeah. Did a bit of talking here and there. Like I did, but it was mostly just relaxing and wandering around.
Yeah.
What was going on? Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, it was like it was basically my holiday. We'll say my holiday at Anvil.
That's fair. So yeah, we get back to camp. There's even more reapers there, and they just keep on sowing the seed of like something's coming for you, Aagni.
Yeah.
You're really in trouble. Like you've done this time, and I was just there like, oh God, like oh no. And I noticed out of the corner of my eye, unrelated to all of this Crimson Reaper drama going on, a certain freeborn of the name Esteban.
Yeah.
And anybody who has been following Aagni for a little bit knows that her and Esteban have a very interesting past.
Yeah.
Because basically what happened was Aagni met Esteban at a player event, and we got to chatting. Very, very lovely person, both OC and IC. Really eccentric, very chaotic. Aagni and Esteban got on like a house on fire very quickly.
Literally. That much chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And then when we hung out in the Empire, actually at Anvil for the first time, it was on the battlefield, and Aagni may or may not have cut Esteban's finger off.
Oops.
She sewed it back on again. Like this is the one thing that you will always guarantee. Exactly. Like Aagni will always right the wrongs that she does. If she cuts a hand off, she'll sew it back on. If she cuts a finger off, she'll sew it back on. I don't understand what my fascination with hands and fingers and various different limbs are.
Yeah, no idea. You've stabbed me in the arm several times.
Yeah, exactly. But it was happening. It happened. But Esteban was on a date.
Ooh.
And I know, right? And especially since we had organised to have a meeting straight after the battle.
Yeah.
But Esteban, apparently he had turned up, but was in the wrong place, or we just didn't see each other because it seemed like we were just both waiting in the same place.
Ships in the night.
Yeah, legit. But yeah, so I had this really cute interaction with Esteban, and put him through the ringer a little bit, which was really funny.
In front of his date?
Yeah, in front of his,
wow.
Of course in front of his date. Like, if you can't, as a freeborn, you've got to be able to negotiate, right?
True.
And to be able to put all your cards on the table and have a good deal. So Aagni's going to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
She's not going to let anyone win, but sure. But yeah, so I had a really nice chat with Esteban and their date. It's really nice. It's just really good RP. One thing I will say for this weekend is that the RP game was very strong. Like, just witnessing it around Anvil.
Yeah.
It was just really good. And then some Highguarders turned up to talk to Gellert and I.
Yeah.
And that's when we found out that our dear friend Sigismund was dead.
Not just dead.
Poisoned.
Yep. Moida.
Yeah. Moida, Captain. And it had happened, before the summit had begun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't talk about it because it's live game.
Yeah.
But it's really annoying because, again, I'm seeing a trend here. But Sigismund was one of Aagni's favourite people to antagonise.
Yeah, and then he carked it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty rough, and Gellert and I just had a little look at each other, and we were like, "Moida."
Our first case.
Yeah, legit, right? So Dave runs off to go and look into that and to go and sort of start the wheels moving and investigating that.
Yeah.
Oh dear me. And I think I just kind of chilled out a little bit because I had my cake date with the Senator for Scarsin to go to.
Yep, cake and beer.
One
brings the drink, the other brings the cake.
Exactly. So we went and hung out at Senate for a little bit because our little meeting was supposed to happen after the afternoon Senate. Yeah, exactly.
Never overruns that one.
No, never. But it was a lot of really interesting stuff going on in Senate this event.
Yes.
A lot of it I had no idea about because it's not our game anymore, which is actually a blessing. But there was a lot. So as we said earlier, there was a lot of chat about the marches and the Farmers Union going on strike.
Yes.
There was also stuff to do with the Fenny and the Cold Sun. There's big movements to try and get stuff built, especially when it comes to like Madruga and the roads around there.
Yeah.
So understandably, seeing as everybody has tried to get their big pieces moving, because I think what it is like when you get something passed through Senate, you have a very large time scale between that actually being completed or enacted in game.
Yeah.
So like with build slots, you often get a year. With appraisals, you have a summit, and then the appraisal will come back the next summit. But then like with other things, it just takes a long time. So I think at E1, a lot of people start drumming up ideas and the feasibility of things.
Yeah.
But then E2 is where everybody just throws it all at Senate.
Yeah. But the main issue with Senate at the moment is they have no money. Yeah.
Which we won't again, I'm not in a position to talk about knowledge with much knowledge and things like that, but it was interesting. We ran into our friend Willem. Yep. Again, from the marches. A lot happened in the marches for me this summit. Yeah. And he was there as the proxy to Braggersland.
Yes, he's the proxy, but he was actually there as an expert witness in regards to the farmer stuff.
Yeah. So I remember poor Willem had no idea
that if you're an expert witness, you spend the entirety of Senate waiting to be called in a little box room.
Yeah, and the little box room is so depressing. I've been in there before myself for Ambassador to Yarm election. It is not nice. But we left Willem at about 4:00 just before Senate started.
Yeah.
We got back for this meeting with the senator at 5, and they still hadn't called on him.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. It's one of those wonderful things where everything just takes so long because it's a lot of debating needs to be done.
But one thing I will say is the emperor was there.
And
I
they were
heard
on their throne.
Yeah, and I heard them speak, and they obviously, when you are the emperor of a system, you need to have a great amount of knowledge. But as somebody who hadn't seen much of the emperor or their game, listening to them talk, the whole room fell silent. It was a really cool moment because the whole room fell silent. They said something. It was really intelligent. It was like really very wise, very good, and very sensical. And Senate listened.
Yeah.
And it was one of those really cool moments where you're kind of like, oh, holy shit, like this is happening. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. But again, it got to about 5:00. I turned the corner of Senate because I was bored and I was going to go get a drink. And there's a whole bunch of the Crimson Reapers.
Yeah.
In full clank.
Yeah.
And they're all looking right at me. Which again, I'm sure that it was just the paranoia.
Yep.
But they saw me. They all looked at me. They all had a little discussion, and they all dispersed.
Yeah, I remember you handed me the cake you had for the senator. Going, you just hold on to this. I'm just going to disappear for a moment.
Yep. And I made my apologies to the senator for Scarsin because obviously his meeting had overrun, so our meeting was just becoming very unfeasible.
Yeah.
I took the cake back off you. I gave it to the senator. I said, my apologies. We're going to need to reschedule.
Yeah.
And I ran away.
Yeah. Brave Aagni. Brave Aagni ran away.
Incredibly brave Aagni ran away. And we ran straight into Gellert.
Yep.
Who was doing more militia business. That man had managed to go through like 3 or 4 different investigations. Like he had so many things going on already. And so I kind of ran around with him for a bit. We did a little bit more investigating. We went and did a shakedown of various different bars, which was very funny. Listening to bar owners when the militia turn up and watching them squeal a little bit is very funny.
Oh, dear.
But we kind of Gellert and Aagni watched the sun set over their empire and nodded at a job well done. And we sort of went back to camp.
Yep.
And on the way back to camp, guess who we run into, Bung?
Is it Reapers?
Yeah, weirdly. Who'd have thought?
Ooh.
So it's the Prince of the Crimson Reapers again.
Yep.
Who invites Aagni to drinks.
Yes. At Wise Guys, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because I think it was an anniversary of a house in Dawn. And they had invited the Crimson Reapers for a whole evening of free drinks.
They challenged the Crimson Reapers to a drinking contest.
Oh, well, there we go.
They're fools.
Yeah, absolute fools. So the Crimson Reapers were all going to Wise Guys. They were going to get free drinks, and they were like, Aagni, you like stealing drinks and weapons. You can come along. Which, of course, did not set off any internal alarm bells at all.
Oh, not at all.
No, none. Absolutely none. So we kind of just went, sure, we could do that. So Gellert and I went off back to camp. sort of going like, oh, I'm so excited. I can't believe the Crimson Reapers have forgiven me.
They're inviting me out for drinks.
Yeah, like they're taking me out for drinks. They're clearly learning just how incredible a changeling I am. Like playing it up massively about Aagni and her ignorance. And we run into you. You're just chilling at the camp, aren't you?
Yeah, I believe so. Just chilling out, relaxing.
Yeah. And
well, this was after. Was this before or after Dave cut his finger?
Oh God, yeah, that happened, didn't it? So Dave was chopping down a log. He hadn't been drinking. Dave is just an idiot. But he was trying to make kindling out of a log, which was already pretty small. He could have got away with it, but alas, no. So Dave and I take a little trip to the medic tent, OC, who all very good and talented people, because we turn up, they see him instantly. You'd be surprised how clean they can keep a tent when it's in the middle of a muddy field. It was really well run. It turns out that one of the people that is working in the medic's tent is one of my really good friends that we used to work conventions together, which was really weird as he was sort of fixing Dave's finger. And then we're just there like, and have this really weird like moment of realization. We go and get Dave some food because he had lost quite a lot of blood.
Yes.
So we go and get him some food, something sugary, keep his sugars up. Go and sit down. First time I've ever seen it in the OC area. I mean, I know it was there for E1, but you know the big, massive tent.
That's the first time I didn't actually go over there at all during E1.
Yeah, neither did I, to be honest. But it was really nice. We had a little sit down, had a little OC catch up with a load of friends, and it was just a really nice little break. Because I think, especially for me, the Saturday had been quite intense. It had been basically non-stop.
Yeah.
And it was really nice just to listen and chill out for a little bit, not have to be in character, have a little check-in with myself, but also with other people who I'd had game with at that weekend, and just to make sure that everybody was still all right and things like that. It was really good.
Yeah.
And you kind of came and met us, didn't you? Or was that somewhere else?
I'm trying to think if I met you guys there. I think I met you guys back at camp and Dave went to have a little lie down.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is about 9:00 in the evening now. And we'd just been chilling out in camp, having a bit of a rest. Loads of merchants came around this event. But something that I did notice, nobody was trading.
Yeah, no one was really wanting items this event. It was very strange.
Everybody had resources to sell.
Yeah.
But certainly around us, nobody was buying.
No, it was one of those weird events where no one wanted any sort of resources.
Yeah. And I had a massive stack of herbs. And in the winds, I like the winds of war and fortune and stuff.
Yeah.
I was getting really excited about the value of herbs.
Yes, because there was various things stopping their production.
Yeah. And a lot of people with herbs, and like IC had found that a lot of their herb garden production rates had dropped due to the cold sun and various different things. So I was like, yes, I'm going to make loads of money this event. But everybody in field has got herbs, and they've got herbs by the shit ton.
Yeah.
So nobody wanted to buy any. So that was really annoying. I need to actually put all of my herbs in my inventory so that I can make potions.
Yeah, do that in downtime and get that done.
Yeah, but I didn't manage to do it this event. I'm gonna first thing I do at E3, I think, is gonna actually brew some potions.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just have all the stuff ready to go and just basically do a quick run to God.
Yeah, exactly. So I just need to do a little recipe check when I get there. So we were just chilling. We were trading with a couple of people. Aaron from the Reapers came around with all of his wares, which he's made jams.
Yeah.
But the thing that we were interested in is that he'd made flavoured salts.
Yes.
Which is a strange, like, when you think about it, when so many people come to Empire with things like cookies or like the smutty nuts, like things that you can eat instantaneously, right? He is the only person that I know of that brings something that actually has a really good use in the kitchen.
Outside the system.
So you very kindly bought me some of the wild garlic.
The wild garlic, or was it the lemon and thyme?
Lemon thyme. I got the lemon thyme actually.
It was the lemon thyme one.
Yeah. So he had the wild garlic one, the lemon thyme one, sriracha one, and another chili based one as well.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Oh yeah.
And it was just something that you can like sprinkle on your cooking, both, you know, when you're in field, but also out. But it's a really nice touch.
Yeah.
And it's actually created quite a lot of business for him because obviously people get it and they're like, oh crap, I could actually use this at home.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a shame like Rocky and that lot weren't there, because I think he bought out his entire stock of one of the rubs one year.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think at E1, because that was Aaron's first event, it was like, he was like, you know how those tomahawk steaks you make? You want some salt?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was fun just sitting and watching the world go by.
Yeah.
Like people watching at Anvil is some of my favourite things to do because you have such a mix.
Oh yeah.
And especially
the
because
things you can hear.
Oh my god, yeah, the things you can hear. There was also a massive skirmish. One of the main Navari skirmishes at the weekend happened at about 3:00 on the Saturday.
Yes.
And we had seen, this was about this time, it was about 6, 7. And so we'd seen people start to come back from all of their skirmishes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how each of the skirmishes went, but it was, you know, people were coming back. There were a lot of people that were starting to die. There was a lot of the Cold Sun skirmishes, I think, were quite hard.
As a standard.
Yeah. And there was a couple of Valorn skirmishes out to Leathavan and Miaran, I think.
Yes. I think, the Dreadshields got asked to go on one and then basically got bounced.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit annoyed.
I mean, it's understandable because I think that, you know, you do a lot of people, especially the Thorns, do work on the Friday to secure spots on skirmishes. And it's, you know, it's through no fault of anyone. I think it's just it's a lot of people wanting to get on the skirmishes basically. But all it takes is like one group to say, yes, come along, to like 2 people. But if you've got 4 or 5 groups in that skirmish and each of them have said come along to some of their friends,
it soon fills up.
Yeah, exactly. And even though I think that skirmish in question that the Dreadshields wanted to go on was a like 50 or 60 strong one.
Yeah, I think maybe even been at 70.
Yeah, which is one of the bigger skirmishes that the Empire does. They all got bounced, which is a massive pain in the arse, really, especially when you put clank on.
You got all kitted up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them wear heavy.
Yeah.
Some of them are leather, but I know Oily's got chain. Yeah. I think Bastard is plate. Mm-hmm. But it's like to get all that stuff on, just to go all the way down to the Senate, not Senate, the Central Gate, and then just go, we're so subscribed. See ya, thanks. Yeah,
exactly right. So they were understandably upset. There was also like a couple of moments where, you know, people had come back and they hadn't brought certain people back with them.
Yeah.
Again, as I said earlier, this whole weekend was just such a good weekend for RP.
Oh yeah, the RP has been insane. I mean, like I say, I've been using it as a holiday, but I've still been like doing RP chatting with people.
Yeah.
And it's been like inane, sort of weird little debates about the way and stuff like that, or just chatting IC how characters have been in between summits. But it has been very, very RP heavy and does get even more so.
Yeah, it's pretty big, right?
Yeah.
So we're just chilling, relaxing. We have a little chat, and then we look at our clocks, and we're like, "Oh, it's nearly 9 o'clock." You know what that means?
You should head to Wise Guys.
Yeah, free drinks, baby.
Yep.
And in the back of my mind, I knew that to get to Wise Guys, we have to go past the hall in Wintermark that I'd been contracted to for that job. So we go down, we go past their area, and I find the person that had employed me for this job.
Yeah.
And I kind of go, and we do a little check-in. We go, still on, good, lovely. What does the person actually look like? Because like you get a description of somebody at Empire, and you go, oh, so it's someone who wears glasses, who wears a tunic and some trousers. And you're like, wow, that really narrows it down in a field of 3,500 people all wearing tunics and trousers. Brill, thank you. So we chill out at their camp for a little bit in the hopes that this mark is going to come back. They do. So then I get like a positive identification of that person. I know who it is that I need to interact with later on. Yeah. We go off to Wise Guys, which is really fun. It was quite busy in Wise Guys. Like
it was absolutely rammed in there, and I think the only thing they had to drink at the time was IPA.
Oh yeah, and I am not a big beer drinker at all.
I mean, I like some beers, but I do not like IPAs very much.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people had gone quite hard on the Friday night. Yeah. So a lot of people were feeling it, especially in bars on the Saturday night. But what I hear is that that party in question drank Wise Guys dry. Like they ran out of alcohol by about 10 or 11, I think.
Yeah. I think they were able to re-up from somewhere later on in the evening.
But yeah, so I think because they only had IPA and beer and stuff, I was like, I'm just going to go back to the camp, get some of my own drinks, and then come back.
Yeah.
And on the way back, we noticed that the mark was just sat in the hall at Wintermark.
Well, yeah, I think it was because it was you, me, and Talis who went back down.
Yeah, we did.
And then we got invited into their camp.
Yeah. We sat down.
And got to hear the song and story of how they killed the Kraken.
Yeah, so for a little bit of context, the hall in Wintermark in question, they're like fishermen.
Yeah.
And part of their story is that they had sort of hunted and killed the Kraken, or a Kraken. I don't know if there's multiple Krakens at Empire. And amazingly, they have a LARP-safe Kraken tentacle.
Yep.
And you'd think, okay, if it's a LARP-safe Kraken tentacle, it's not going to be that big. Oh no. It's a good, 2 meters long.
Yeah, it wasn't small.
No, it's a taxidermied Kraken tentacle, and it is huge. And by all means, use that as a sound clip for whatever you want to in the future. But it was really adorable because there was this little kid that came up and had said to the is it Jarl in Wintermark? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think their dad had said, or their parent told them that they had killed the Kraken.
Yeah, Thane, that's what it is in Wintermark.
Yeah, Thane.
Yeah.
So they wanted to talk to them about them killing the Kraken. And like, do you want to see part of it? And that's when they all came out, and it was very sweet.
It was really endearing, and there was just like this whole thing, and like all of this really cute RP. And I was just watching it, and Talis and I and you, we were all blowing bubbles.
I wasn't blowing bubbles.
I was blowing bubbles. I was having a lovely time.
You and Talis were blowing bubbles.
Yeah.
Keys is more serious than bubbles.
Oh yeah, maybe. But yeah, so we were having a lot of fun, just having a nice little time around a campfire, learning about a lot of other people's game, because I don't go to Wintermark very often.
No.
Most of my game is based in the League or in the Marches or occasionally in Dawn.
Yeah.
Not very much anymore though, and so you end up just sort of staying in your own areas that you know, but also as well, like there's only so much time in a weekend
Yeah.
There's no way that you can get around the whole empire because it's just so big.
Yeah, the biggest enemy at Empire is the time.
Yeah. So we're all sat around the campfire. The person that I've been hired to pickpocket essentially has turned up, and the person who hired me for this contract goes, "We should sing our song."
Yep.
And I am so glad that they did.
Yep, because that was how you got your in, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's also just like the person. So basically, the hall's big. We're not telling the story very well, but it's about 10 people in it. One of them that I was talking to is like, "Oh, well, yeah, I play the guitar. I'm not very good at it, but I play it, occasionally. It's more of a hobby for me." And then suddenly, all 10 of them are stood up. There are 2 guitars. They're all but getting played so well, like very talented, and they're all singing. They're doing like 6-part harmonies. Really well written song.
It's very impressive.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And I was in awe. So much so that I almost forgot that I had a job to do. I stand up under the pretense that I'm helping blow bubbles around because they're talking about being underwater with the Kraken. So I stand up and we're blowing bubbles, and I do a little OC check-in before I do it, and I just go because we hadn't actually agreed the logistics of it, and we all said as long as my hand hovers over the pouch for a certain amount of time, they're just going to say that I managed to do it.
Yeah.
So there isn't actually any pickpocketing involved, which is good because at this point I was a little bit tipsy. No comment, Your Honour. And so they sing the song. I managed to get this item out of the pouch, not actually, but sort of icy. I hand it off, and they go, "You wait here. We'll get your payment." I was really excited because obviously we're in a hall in Wintermark that says money is no object. So I'm like, yes, massive payday incoming, lads. And they bring me 3 crowns.
I mean, it's more than you had before.
It is 3 crowns more than I had before, but my God. But yeah, so I get paid, and we're all just sat around the campfire chatting, and having a lovely time. You're there. They bring out some food.
Yep.
Which is really good. To get a bowl of it's just simple food like pasta, pesto, cheese. Oh, so good.
But it was exactly what was needed at that time. I think something warm and stodgy just to fill your stomach up.
Oh my God, yeah, so good. And then over the horizon,
dun dun dun.
The word consequences gets thrown around a lot today.
Yeah.
But
I've been telling you for years.
I don't know what you're talking about. No consequences. The Prince of the Crimson Reaper comes down. And he sits down next to me. And I'm not going to say I wasn't allowed to leave, but every time I stood up, there was a heavy insistence that I sit my ass back down. Which was so funny. I was having it was just so funny because I was like, I knew what was going to happen. We'd done an OC check-in. I knew exactly what was going on. And I was like, I'm just going to leave. And he's like, no, Aagni, sit down, have another drink. Here, use mine, have mine. And I was like, oh no. And over the horizon, I see more Crimson Reapers.
Yeah.
And a referee.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more terrifying in Empire than when you see a ref
walking up to you.
So I was like, oh no, this word consequences is coming closer and closer. And it's so there's 3 people that come up, and it's Charlemagne, it's Lyron, and Eden. And and Charlemagne, and they're coming up, and they are like the main curse part of the Crimson Reapers, and I'm just there like, I can't leave. I was trying to stand up. I wasn't allowed to stand up.
No.
And Charlemagne comes right up to me and says,
with half skull mask on as well.
With half skull mask, they're all wearing their skull masks. They're all very scary, and he says, Aagni, you are cursed to never be satiated by food or drink for a whole year.
Yeah. And pretty harsh one.
It was it was a little harsh. But OC, we had a little check-in beforehand, and Reese, who plays the Prince, the Crimson Reapers, was like, here are your options. These are the consequences that we think would be good for game for Aagni. And it was either I get contracted as his basic personal assistant for a whole year, or I get cursed.
And you would for curse.
I mean, like, the Prince has good game. I just don't think that the Crimson Reapers is Agni's game.
No.
Like, I would happily follow those guys around because the events that they have are so good. Like, there are some things that happened at the weekend that we haven't spoken about because it's just their game. It's not my game. And I don't want to, like, elbow my way in and force myself on someone else's game because it's not great. No. And especially if you're having, like, cartel specific game, and then there's just a random Navari or anyone else just like plastered on the edge. It doesn't really work. But yeah, so Reese had come up to me and was like, here are your options, this is what we're thinking. And the curses that they offered me were water through your fingers, I think.
Yep, that's one where you lose 2/3 of your... Well, you can't keep hold of 2/3 of your cash, basically. You end up being dressed in rags by the end of it.
So, water through your fingers. There we go. Description. This horrible curse slowly erodes the wealth of the target. Their resources fail them. Their clothes become threadbare, and they are constantly aware of the vagaries of fate that may rob them of their security, prosperity, and comfort. They receive a temporary respite from the curse through use of enchantments that enhance their resources, but slowly and inexorably they are paupered unless they are very lucky. Which I thought was funny, especially seeing most of my game is based on stealing them. Yeah. Like the OC, the IC effects of it is that they don't get any resources provided by military units, herb gardens, no congregations or anything like that. Yeah. They also don't get their money from, the 18 rings that you get as custom. So like it would have literally just bankrupted me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they decided not to go for that one.
Yes.
But the one
the other icy thing? Yeah, the one that you got
was
gnawing, endless hunger. So description. ASMR from me now. This horrible curse creates a constant gnawing hunger and unquenchable thirst which serves to make the target miserable. The curse is horrible, but it's doubly horrible to warriors and magicians who expect to place themselves in harm's way because it also robs the wholesome qualities of herbs. This means that not only can the target not be treated by the herbal arts of the physic, they cannot benefit from the many useful potions created by the apothecary. Consumables that are not made from herbs will have their normal effect, although they will still taste bland. For example, the target could not drink beggar's lye or seawater safely.
Ooh, okay. So either way, good RP, like things, right?
Yeah.
And I end up just chomping down on this plate of pasta that I have. And again, it's one of those awkward things where somebody you don't know gives you food, and it's really good food.
Yeah.
But then you have to RP that it tastes like dog shit.
Yeah. I think OC we touched in explaining what was going on.
Yeah.
I think OC it's actually really good, but
yeah. they knew. But yeah, so that was really funny. But that was basically my Saturday. Is there anything that I missed that you did?
Not really. It was one of those nights where I just sort of I think we all went back up to Wise Guys for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then sort of split ways, and I went again back to the Dreadshields, just sat with them for a bit.
Yeah.
Just enjoying sitting around their fire and just talking and chatting absolute shit.
Yeah. I think at that point we went back to Wise Guys. I got really tired.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of icy OC bleed, and I got a little bit anxious, so I was like, I'm just gonna go and chill out OC for a little bit. I did that, and then I think that was basically my night. And it was great. I think that's where we'll leave this episode, because we're an hour and a half in.
Yep, and then the final one will be the big one, all about Sunday.
Oh yeah. Before we end the episode, let's say a massive thank you to our Patreons.
Thank you.
Thank you. As always, you guys.
I was going to shout, but I thought no, it is.
Yeah, it's also 10 o'clock in the morning, my guy. No, thank you. You guys help keep us going, so thank you so much. I'm on the road at the moment, so my recording setup has become somewhat thingy. So you guys have managed to help me out a little bit with that. I really appreciate it. But thank you so much to anyone that basically just listens, interacts with us.
You make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, comments on any of our videos, leaves a comment on any of our podcast episodes or whatever streaming platform you use. It's just nice learning about everybody and how they do LARP and what LARPs they go to. And it's really exciting just to see how much stuff there is out there. And I'm really looking forward to. I'm on as we speak, at time of recording, it is Thursday the 20th. When I finish work this evening, so at 1 o'clock in the morning when I clock off work, I am driving north. Shush, that hurts me.
Sorry, dear.
But I am driving north to go to Warriors of Middle-earth. So I am very excited for what the summer's going to bring. And I
look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna leave it here. Turn on our Sunday little emotional moments.
Get into that moment.
Oh God. Oh God, what a weekend, man.
Yeah.
But there's only one thing left to say, Bung.
Strength to the Empire.
Strengths to Navarre.